LEAP is my four core words: lead, engage, align, and I love leadership. I love getting managers and doctor owners up to speed in their leadership because that's not something they're trained to do. It just, you have to kind of navigate that and find what works with you.
All right, so yes, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for the opportunity to chat this morning.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit more about you. I know your name. I've seen your name in dental for many, many years, and I just kind of want to get to know you and,
Yeah.
maybe have our dental office manager community get a little bit more info on how you found your way on in dental and things like
Yeah.
that.
So the 411 on me is that I've been in dentistry for over 30 years. That tells my age. And around 2019, I started my own company, Leap to Solutions, so that I could give back to the community that's been so great to me. I love dentistry. In addition to my coaching, I still work in a practice, so I understand the pain points that the doctors and the managers go through because I'm going through them as well. And so
Yeah,
that helps me, I feel like, to have a little bit of a different edge than some of the other consultants because I'm doing it every day, just like they are. And I can tell you from my point of view things that work and things that don't, and then hopefully give you some insight
I
and
see.
better in a better way to navigate things.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, like what are some of the, challenges that you see office managers face?
Well, there's so many on a given day, as you've probably heard or you
Hmm.
read on the forums, is that we are still dealing with labor shortage, trying to find the right people to fit the needs. We've got practices now that have long-term employees that are gearing up for retirement. That's always a stressful part of navigating through long-term team members. And then we have a lot of doctors that are now at the point where they're selling out to private practice, selling out to DSOs. So there's so much going on. And how do you navigate that and still have great leadership and have great cohesiveness with your team when there's these unsettling things that keep reoccurring? So that's what I kind of see still being very much a part of our industry, sadly, is the labor shortage.
Yeah. Yeah, in the practice, we were having some challenges hiring a hygienist and
Hmm.
it was like, you get so many like people applying for the
Yeah.
position, but then you're getting like tons of no-shows and
Yeah, for sure.
we were like, what are we doing wrong? But then I guess it's the labor shortage that is
I
kind
think well, because I work in a practice and I feel terrible saying this because I don't want it to come across conceited. I'm not that type of person,
of
but I really haven't experienced it myself in our practice. We are very clear when we write the ads to what our office culture is, and we write the ad that speaks of it so that they understand what they're coming into. And what I have found with these new employees is that they are very much in the driver's seat. They very much know what they are looking for in terms of landing in another practice, and they are not willing to sell out. So it kind of comes down to that. You've got to be clear in what your culture is, because we think the industry is small, but word gets around very fast.
Mhm.
If you have a culture that is negative or a lot of turnover, it gets out there. And then we often think that employees are looking for salary as the number one caveat to switching a career, when I think it's number two. They're just looking to get somewhere where it's a positive, collaborative environment.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
that's just from the feedback that I've gotten from recent hires.
Wow. So maybe if you're hiring, you might want to like work on your ad, maybe like put
Yeah,
some,
yeah,
like
work work on your ad. If you've got a social channel that really tells about your team, include the social channels on that, to learn
Mm,
more about our practice, go to our website, check out our social platforms. I mean, they're going to do it anyway, but this is just saying, hey, what we say in the ad is mirroring who we are in the industry, who we are in the community, and who we are when you're going to come and work with us, so that there's not a disconnect. I think a lot of times that we get caught up in kind of copying an existing ad from somewhere else, and that's not really reflective of who you are.
mm.
Yes, the job description maybe, but they want to hear who you are as a practice. What do you have that's different from other practices that they may be interviewing?
Hmm. Yeah, that's, I didn't think about that, but it
Yeah.
makes sense. Like, times are changing, right? It's kind of
Yes.
like, hey, look, instead of the usual job description of like, do this, do this, do this, do this, and then
Yeah.
add a little bit more fun, creativity, culture kind of things. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah.
I could see how, if I was looking for a new position, I would probably want to know like, hey, what's going on in that practice
Right.
besides the task. Like, okay, I
Yeah.
know what I can do and I see that you're looking for it, but yeah, how does it go above and beyond? That makes sense. I know, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Never thought of that. Yeah.
I wish I could say that I had this idea the whole time, but it just comes with trial and error. You just kind of
Yeah.
us talking, then you get something, I get something from the conversation as well. And I'm a Gen X person, so I have to be very careful to not write the ad that's speaking from who I am, but to
Mm,
write it in a way that attracts all the generations that are out there looking for a place to land while also speaking of what the practice is all about.
right, right. Huh. So are you able to assist with those type of issues for a dental practice? Like
Yes.
if they can't
Yes.
hire? So
Hmm.
how do you help dental practices in that sense?
So with that, I try to. A lot of times they don't really know what their culture is. They think they do, or they don't know how to express it in an ad, and I just try to help them navigate that so that it's a very organic ad that speaks of who they are. Because I can write it in my way, but I have a very specific style of writing. When we write articles, it's very
Mhm.
reflective of who we are. I think ads are that way too. And so you have to write it from that concept, but I can get you started on it and write it in a way that what people are looking for today. They do want a competitive salary, but they want an environment that is very collaborative, very engaging, very much that they're a part of something, that they're not just there to fill a position. They want to be a
Right.
part of the growth. They want to be a part of attracting new patients. And, we all want to be a part of a bigger picture.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was one of the things that I experienced in my growth, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it was like, hey, look, I'm good at doing these things, but I want more. And
Right.
so, I could see how integrating that into the job description, so to speak, right,
Mm-hmm.
can really help like elevate the practice and the person.
Yep.
And want to stay on board, right? Like, hey, look, this is a great practice. Look what they're doing beyond my
Yes.
tasks that I have to
Yeah.
fulfill daily. It gives you like some sense of like self-fulfillment, like
Mm-hmm.
something to look forward to, right? Because it's like we wake up every day,
Yes.
as an office manager, I wake up and I'm like, okay, I gotta go to the office and I gotta do this, 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 and that.
Yes.
But making it fun or adding the culture into it, I could see how that would be maybe a little bit more motivating.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
is. And then also, we have to think about beyond that point. Let's say that we find the person and they're the right person and the person thinks we're right for them. It's a win-win. We don't just stop there. We have to make sure that the onboarding process is still mirroring who we are and giving them that opportunity to come and be a part of us, but not to rush that process in the beginning.
Oh, so that sounds like maybe that's the number one challenge, right? Of
Mm-hmm.
what dental practices may be facing in this current economic climate.
Yeah.
What would you say would be the number two?
I think the number two is just we don't place enough significance on addressing health and wellness within our practice. Teams that are struggling to find other team members to join, they're often taking extra duties and they are doing whatever it takes to keep the practice going in that time frame between finding someone and getting them up and running. We often forget to take a look and ask them how they're doing, because a lot of the turnover happens from burnout. They get burned out where they're at and they just want to either leave the industry or they want to find somewhere else that is sustainable without burning them to a point where they don't want to be there anymore. And other industries caught on very quickly before and especially after the pandemic of incorporating health and wellness and talking about it openly. And I think dentistry is slow to come into that, and we need to be more aggressive in those conversations. Just,
Mm.
because a lot of times our teams are burnt out, but they're not to the point where they're ready to walk away and they have solutions already that they've come up with. We just have to have those conversations, ongoing. It can't be just like we talk about it in the beginning of the year and we're done.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
Yeah, I could see how maybe if you're just consistently talking about dental duties, right? It kind of
Yeah.
like it's like, where's the fun in this?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I go to work every day. I'm just like, okay, knock this off my list,
Yeah.
and then yeah, you get burned out. I've actually seen that in the community quite often,
Mm-hmm.
where there's some members have posted and they're like, hey, have you thought about doing something else?
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, hey, like, are you okay? Because
Yeah.
it's kind of worrying in a way where
It is.
you know, what happened that made you feel that way? Is it the practice that you're working at? Is it the culture? Kind of like all the points that you hit, it
Mm-hmm.
really makes you kind of wonder about these things. Um, yeah, that's
It's concerning to me because I think that we have a great community, and I think that it got tarnished a bit during the pandemic. But I
mhm.
do think that for every setback, there's an amazing comeback, and we just have to figure out how to navigate it so that we're taking care of us as leaders, doctors, managers, but also taking care of our team. And I'm a car chick, so I try to
Hmm.
come at it as in this respect. When a car is starting to have issues, the check engine light is often flashing. You often get that indicator before something catastrophic happens. But what
Yeah.
do we do? If we're one that is used to the blinking light, we just keep driving along. We don't worry about it. And
Yeah.
then what happens? The light goes from blinking until it's solid, and then we go from having something that was manageable to now we're dealing with a crisis. So let's look at the check engine light that's on in our practice. If it is on, is it blinking or is it to a point where we got to do something now? I try to be proactive versus reactive because I think we think better in that time frame.
Okay. Yeah. So would there be like maybe some key, indicators where, hey, maybe a staff member is burnt out and you kind of see this coming?
Yeah, and I'm going to do this from personal reflection because I had a little bit of burnout during the pandemic, like a lot of managers did.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew that I wasn't myself and I didn't like the leader that I had become because I was having insomnia. I was snappy. My fuse was very short. I was not engaged as I was before because my mind was just so bogged down with everything. So that's what you will start to see in some of your team members: snarkiness, tired, irritable, not, always having some kind of negative comeback when you need them to do something. These are little tattletale signs that sometimes we tend to just shrug it off, but those can be the indicators that they are on maybe on the cusp of burnout. and they may not even realize it. I didn't realize it mine until I was, a couple of months into it, and I'm like, whoa, I don't want to be this person. Then I started trying to, just do things to try to get myself out of that.
Got
But
it.
it was helpful for me because I could talk to my doctor owners and tell them, here's where I'm at, this is how I'm feeling. And oftentimes the doctor owner are aware of it, or they're feeling it the same. So I feel like we got to talk about it. We just have to talk about it more.
Yeah, so talking about it would be maybe the first step, kind of like
Yes.
sitting the person down and saying, "Hey, look, let's have a conversation about what's going on."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I've done that, and I do kickoff meetings. And my thing is, I really like doing team retreats. So, what I do is in the opening of the kickoff meetings is just do a check engine light type conversation. Where's everybody at? In terms of how are you feeling with your health and wellness, and trying to do things that we can just start the conversation off, and then have that be a part of it ongoing throughout the year.
Yeah, that's great. You don't think about these things very often.
Mm-hmm.
And like I have noticed that in past practices that I've managed where you may have one employee who is kind of like you want to instantly label them as like, oh, this is the bad batch of the apples,
Mm-hmm.
right? But maybe there's more going on with that person and maybe they're
Mm-hmm.
just not happy. But it's definitely a different way of looking at things and it's super helpful to kind of
Yeah.
bring that to light. But in terms of like, let's say, for example, we have an employee who is maybe on the cusp of burnout, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a conversation with that person and you feel like, hey, maybe we're not seeing eye to eye, or maybe, maybe we're not the right fit for you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a line, or should I say, let me rephrase that. Is there a point where you say, hey, look, I tried, and I think at this point we need to figure some type of permanent solution. Maybe, have you come in as a consultant. Like, where do you go from there, after you've kind of exhausted all of your options in the office?
Well, I think you have to, have that conversation. Usually, as I've been navigating it, they usually come to that realization that their heart just isn't in it. But oftentimes they don't. And that's when you either have to have that one-on-one, or you bring a consultant in and see if it's fixable. But if they are in a negative mindset that you can't break that pattern, then what that will do is it will deteriorate the other team members. It's very contagious after a while, and sometimes it just comes to from the point of the other employees as to saying, they're not doing anything about it, and then they start, getting in that repetitive cycle. We've seen it. You work in a practice too, right? So you
Right.
see how easily that can happen. But a lot of times when they're in that burnout, they are getting in that, they just want to be heard. They want you to understand from their point of view, hey, I can't do all these things that you're asking me to do because this is a one person and a one and a half person's job now, and I'm only one person. I can't do this. So what's been the game changer for me is just asking the question to back to them. Do you have any solutions that might work? Because they see it from a different point of view than we see it from. And a lot of times when I've asked that question, they have been able to give me an idea I didn't think about. Like, there's a lot of practices that don't have a sterilization tech. I'm using this as an example. So the clinical team is therefore the responsibility of taking care of that lab in addition to their patient care. And if you've ever shadowed in the back office, it's a lot that they do from the start of that appointment to the end, and restarting all over again for 8 patients or 10 patients a day. To add that duty of the lab, it's a lot on them. And A lot of times they will say, if I just had somebody to help, that would, and if your budget can allow it and take that stress off of them, this is a perfect way to bring in an assistant that might have gone through one of these 8-week classes or longer, and they're trying to get in. This is a great entry level for them to come
Mm.
in and just be the sterilization tech and take the edge off of the clinical team.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's I can see how that would be helpful to any practice, you know. Sometimes the dental assistants you know, they get bogged down with
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, it's a lot. And
Yes.
then on top of that, sometimes you have to interact with a dentist who may have a bad day,
Yeah. Yeah.
who may not be very happy with the patient
Yes.
or, and I've seen that firsthand. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's something to think about where it's like, hey, maybe bring someone else in and assign them that duty
Yeah.
to alleviate everyone and make everyone a little bit happier.
Yeah,
Right?
and
Yeah.
it's just like in the admin, they have a ton of responsibilities that that they do, and a lot of times practices don't have those softwares that can do the calling and the reactivation and all. But just implementing that can help relieve so much stress off of the admin team,
Right.
making it more streamlined, more technologically advanced in that area helps them to be able to do their jobs effectively.
Yeah, and I guess dental assistants don't really have some type of software, right? It's
No,
like
see,
there is no software.
there's no software, so we have to
Yeah,
start asking questions and just being more involved of knowing what's going on beyond the desk that we sit in as a practice manager and a dentist. We got to kind of know where the barometer is with our team members, because I do think those that are there, they want to be there. They
yeah,
like it. They want to be a part of something, but we don't want to burn them out to the point where they're just like, I just don't even want to be in dentistry, period. I'm
yeah,
tired.
yeah. Wow. So, Christy, tell us a little bit more about your services. So, leap to solutions. Just tell us a little bit more about what you offer and what it's
Yeah.
about.
So leap is my 4 core words: lead, engage, align, and perform. And so my company is based on that. I love leadership. I love getting managers and doctor owners up to speed in their leadership, because that's not something they're trained to do. It just, you have to kind of navigate that and find what works with you. But part of that is being able to articulate your vision of the practice, where you are now, where you see us going, and incorporating and engaging and aligning the team with that. A lot of times teams don't understand what the leaders and managers do. We understand what they do. They don't understand what we do.
Mm.
We have to be able to move them in a way so that they have the big picture of what our responsibilities are and how together we co-pilot this dental practice, because we can't do it without them. We're all very much fused together. We need everyone working in unison to the bigger picture. And so what I've done is I've taken and created what I call team retreats. They're done quarterly every year, and I do a theme for that year. That is a theme that is going to resonate with them and help them understand, so that we're all moving. I'm a car chick, so I did one on Driven to Succeed, and that was all in the race car theme. And I took them to where Formula One, how powerful they are, but what it takes to actually get to that winning the race. It's not just the driver. The driver's a small part of it, just like the
Hmm.
leaders are, but it takes the whole team. It takes the
Right.
pit crew, it takes the communication sector. And so I developed those retreats, and the team building parts are very much in alignment to what that theme is. Right now, I'm doing Utopia, and that's more on the performing arts and kind of taking them down that road. And they
Wow.
resonate with it. All ages resonate with being a part of this, and it clicks with them. Okay, I understand. That
Wow.
I'm a part of the story.
So are you going to a practice like individually and
Mhm.
you're saying, "Hey, look, let's meet here and let's."
Yeah, we usually we meet at a location off-site from their practice. A lot of them can arrange for a meeting room, either at, if they're a member of a country club, a member of the hotels work with you. The hotel here in Durham works with us, and I set it up for a Friday from 8 to 1, and we rock it out that whole
Wow.
time. And the team is involved, and they have fun, and they know to expect the unexpected. I think that people learn at different levels than they did when I first came into dentistry. We were taught go to the lecture, and it's very prim and it's very proper. But over time, we've gotten exposed to social media and TikTok and Instagram. And so our brains now are, in order to get them firing, we have to stimulate people in a different way than we did before.
Right. Yeah, yeah, I see that firsthand. So, the office manager group, I see that how, people members want to just kind of have fun, right?
Yes.
It's like social media is great. And I'll tell you, like I started the group in 2016.
I thought it was about that time.
Yeah, I started in 2016 and I started it because I had that same mentality, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, prim proper. Let's create a social
Like,
network. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's
Well, what
tidy up
else?
and yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
started it for that exact reason because I was going to different lectures.
Hmm.
And I've also lectured, right? I've lectured on
Hmm.
different insurance topics and things like that.
Right.
And I felt like, hey, what if I don't have to go to these meetings anymore? And I can actually create like a social media network and everyone can come to learn. Now,
Yes.
it was great. And it is still exactly that model. However, it's become more of a place to meet friends
Hmm.
and become more sociable
Right.
and really kind of like take the dental out of like
That's
who we
right.
are, but
Right.
at the same time combine it. So what you're doing is kind of the same thing except in person
Yes.
and it's more fun because you're
Yes.
actually you're actually interacting face to face, which is so awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because entertainment has been around since, I mean, the turn of the century. They used entertainment just for entertainment purposes. They used it to meet in town squares to push their social causes. But in 1950, Walt Disney had this amazing concept that we can take education and we can take entertainment and we can fuse them together,
Hmm.
and we can make the learning for our children accelerated because it's fun and it's firing up all the senses of the brain at the same time. So I've just kind of, the gaming industry took that, and that's where you get the hand-eye coordination, the strategic planning. If you're a gamer, you understand that part. But I believe that it's powerful in team meetings and retreats, and I've been doing that for the past 2 or 3 years, and I can tell you that it works very well.
Wow.
You've got to be comfortable if you're doing it on your own and not bringing someone in. You've got to be comfortable in doing that in a way that speaks to everyone in your audience, so that, I have to make sure that I'm speaking to the Gen Zs, and I have to make sure that I'm speaking to the boomers, and I have to make sure that I'm speaking to the Xers, which I am, because in dental practices now in 2023 and 24, this is the first time that we could have up to 5 generations working in a practice at the same time.
Wow.
It's amazing. I did not realize that till I was doing some research, and that's where I was like, okay, so you can't speak from your generation. You have to be able to speak multiple terms so that everybody in your audience grasps that. And we have a
Yeah.
lot of fun doing it. And
Yeah.
then you just pick out topics that go with that retreat. Health and wellness, exercising. I've done it where I teach them how to do chair yoga and things to get the
Oh, that's
body
cool.
moving. Because if the body's moving, the mind follows. If the body is positive and you are feeding it positive energy, the mind will follow, and then it just becomes a trickle effect.
Yeah. Yeah, so in the past in the practice I manage, we would do like not team meetings, but I guess team morale
Mm-hmm.
dinner kind of things.
Yeah.
But it was always difficult because, this person's not available this day. The doctor
Yeah.
is not available. He has something come up. It was always hard to kind of like pin down an exact date.
Mm-hmm.
And then even so, when we did, it was like, hey, look, how long are we going to keep pushing this out?
Yeah.
um, we need to really get, a date in, scheduled
Right.
and let's
Right.
do this team morale thing. But I feel like the team morale, it only lasted so long, right? And so I
Right.
saw that as kind of like a challenge where it's like, how do you get the team morale up continuously? Is it
Right.
something that, it sounds like what you're doing may have a longer lasting effect than just
It
some dinner,
does.
you know?
It does because you go ahead like in September of or October, you should be planning for your next year. And in that you go ahead and you put the first retreat as being that first Friday or second Friday of January. So you're starting and cranking up the momentum. And then you go ahead and lay it out for the next Friday, which is the second quarter, and so on. The Fridays work best for us, and it works best if these are planned for the entire year. If you're doing it in quarterly and you go ahead and give the team, those dates. Now, there will be times that not everybody can attend, but you keep the momentum going. And I tell you, most of the people I work with, and to include my own team, they don't want to miss it because they don't want to
Mm,
miss the fun. They're like,
yeah,
what's going to happen?
yeah,
I want to be a part of this. So, and I
yeah.
like that part. We have fun, but we're learning. There's no doubt about it. We are learning during those 5 hours that we have together.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, this is what you're doing is awesome.
Thank
I
you.
haven't even experienced it, but I could tell you I want to do it already. So,
Well, I'd love to have you as a guest
yeah.
sometime when I do one. That would be
Okay.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, Christy, let's how can members of our community reach out to you? Do you have a website?
I do. I have a website, Leap to Solutions. They can
Okay.
reach out to me with email, leaptosolutions@gmail.com. I also do speaking engagements, like if you're an ADOM chapter or you're a practice that you think you want to learn a little bit more about what I do. I'm happy to come in, and talk to you on a day or do a team retreat. Anything like that. Just hit me up on those and we can schedule a Zoom and chat more.
Cool. Okay. What I'll also do, Christy, is I'll take your website link and I'll put it
Mm-hmm.
down in the comments of this video.
Okay.
That way, if any members of the dental manager community want to reach out to you, check out your website,
Yeah.
get a little bit more info on maybe bringing your services to their practice,
Oh, that
they'll
would
be
be
able to
awesome.
have like a quick link to do that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
this was awesome.
I hope that you got something out of it.
I definitely did.
I always like, being on your page and reading what you're doing. You're always so positive in the community. So just have this opportunity to come on and chat with you. It's been incredible. And I hope that we fed off of each other's
Yeah,
energy.
yeah, 100%. You taught me a lot today, so thanks for your time.
Awesome.
Thanks for your time,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the members in the community will really enjoy what you had to say and
Awesome.
all your little pearls of wisdom and
Uh,
So thanks so much, Christy. I
sure.
appreciate you taking the time out today, and
Absolutely.
I will see you in the community soon.
All right. Take care. Have a great
Okay,
Monday.
take care. Bye.